it's a desert, quite an arid area. The soils are not so fertile. But the missionaries said, no, we'll die here. If it means dying, we are dying. Let's die here. So the church sends another missionary after the death of the first principal. They send F. Fred Elmid. He comes 1899, 1901. Fred Elmid is dead as well. Then they send another missionary, 1902, Melvin Stutvent. He arrives 1902, 1903. His son, only son, Jonathan, is dead from malaria. That's how difficult it was for the missionaries. But they stay put. They said, if it means death, we will die. And those missionaries were not paid anything. They were not paid a cent. If we were to use the youthful language of today, they were paid for call. They were paid nothing. But they had mission. And they said, we want to do this for mission. And their first convert is 25 June 1901, Jim Mayenza. And to show you how the world was at that time, he is taken for baptism with 12 other candidates, taken to the river, Lukhumbe River. When they get there, F.L. Mead, as he is baptizing Mayenza, he immerses him in the water. The other boys run away. They think he is drowning Mayenza. So that day, on 25 June 1901, only one person was baptized, who was Jim Mayenza. The other people were baptized on 1 December 1901. Meat was already dead, so they were baptized by Riza on the 1st of December 1901. This was the world they were operating in. And this is why I get the motivation. If you are asleep, please tell somebody who was asleep that you should just wake up for this one. Yeah, wake him up for this one. Then tell him after 5 minutes, he can go back to sleep. Yeah, no problem. If you go back to sleep at 5 minutes, this one is too important. Wake up for it. You are now awake. Right, it's okay. Just be patient. Now, Jim Mayenza is baptized and he begins to work. This is the first candidate to be baptized, the first African candidate to be baptized at Solusi Mission. What does he do after baptism? He begins to work, sell books using his own money. He buys books and begins to sell books. He buys his own Bible. He goes for kilometers. These days we have the Bible in our iPads, in our phones. He had to go for over 20 kilometers to buy his own Bible after saving his own money. This was a great resource to him. And when he was coming back, he had read several chapters in Matthew, memorized them. He enjoyed, he loved the Bible. It was a precious resource to him. And what else does he do? He begins to witness. He opens a church in Makokoba, Bulawayo. He works with Gusu Mkandla and also with Silombe Moyo. They work together to open a church in Bulawayo. Isaac Gusumkandla and Silombe Moyo. They opened the church in Makokoba. That's one person. After that, it's not enough. He goes to Chief Machinkila Mkwananzi and he opens another church in Malungwane. That's Mayenza alone. He also initiates another church as well in Simbiti, which was close to Malungwane is in Iskotini. Then another one in Simbiti. This is Filapusi area. So the first convert opened churches. These days we are saying one member, one soul. But the first convert was not one member, one soul, was one member, multiple churches. And if we had kept the momentum of Mayenza, me, I'm convinced we would have finished the work. If we had kept the momentum of our pioneers, we would have finished the work. Now you can go back to sleep. We'll come back again. We'll lock you up again. Now they continue. In December 1901, FB Armitage leaves Solusi Mission. He goes to open what is known as Somapula Mission. He goes with Haris Pakobe, Isaac Kliba Lengwe Nkomo, Frank Gama, and others. They go to open Somapula Mission, which was later called Lower Kolo Mission. First, they got to a place called Skombingo, then moved to the current site. Then 1903, Anderson, he lives with Philip Techa Sibanda, and also a few other boys. They go to open Rosangu Mission. Then 1910, Melvin Stutvent lives with Mark Gangaza Mlalazi Dube. They go to open Tsungwesi Mission at the Tsungwesi station, and which is now known as Inyazura Mission. And 1911, we have De Beers living also with Mafohle Lankomazana. They go to open Shangani Mission, which is now known as Skopo Mission. Then you have also in 1911, you have T.J. Gibson. He leaves Lower Kolo Mission. He goes with Paul Mbono. Paul Mbono was a brother to Chief Mutsengi, and they go to open Hanke Mission. And the work begins to grow. These people, what they really loved, these are our pioneers. They loved evangelism. I'll tell you if just one or two things, then I open up for, I think I'm left with 15 minutes. What time do you finish? Pardon? Or 4? Okay, let me make it earlier so that press it at the brief, they may be invited again. Right. So let me finish before your time. Let me try. Let me not make a promise. So what is it that one of the things I want to capture about them? The first camp meeting was in Malawi in 1918. The second camp meeting was in Lower Kwelo in 1919. Then they began to spread in the entire country. What is it that distinguished our pioneers? When they would go for camp meeting, they would not arrive on Sunday like we do. They would arrive on Friday, a Sabbath prior to camp meeting. They would arrive as early as Thursday. The first Sabbath was a Sabbath of confessing sin. They would spend that Sabbath fasting, preparing for camp meeting. They would not drive to camp meeting. At times with us, we cry that this time my budget for camp meeting is not that good, etc. These, they did not hence, they he had nothing. They did not even have transport to go to camp meeting. That was not a conversation before camp meeting. That how are we traveling? No, they would walk barefoot to camp meeting from Nyazura, vana Mtungwazi, Ernest Mtungwazi, Vanamberi, the Kwasiras, Chimuka, Jonah Munzara Chimuka, all that group, they would walk long distances going for camp at Nyazura, then others all the way from Gokwe, the Njigikwas, the Brown Nubes, they would walk all the way from Gokwe to Lower Kwelo. Then the others would walk, for example, others would walk from Chiwundura, led by Sibakobe, walking from Chiwundura to Lower Kwelo. Others walking from Shirukwi, led by Nkomo. Then the other side, the others led by Togotela, going to Solusi, and others all the way from Philapusi, going to Solusi. And the leaders would arrive at different times on Friday, Thursday, arriving at Solusi. They would get there singing. They loved singing. The way they used to sing is the way we usually sing this side, but today we're not so much in the spirit. We're not so much in the spirit, but I will be in the spirit one day. They used to sing, and actually, Stutvent realized that these people, they used to teach them notes, but Stutvent realized that no, these people, he attended some of our festivals and saw the way we used to sing. And he said, no, let me be open. Let me allow these people to sing the way they do. Then he allowed, for example, number 84A, Kiri Vanava Mambo. I'm not a musician, so please don't expect me to go beyond this. And the way they would sing, our forefathers would sing in such a way that as though there was nothing else around them. It was them and Christ only. And when they would get to camp meetings, they would arrive in a queue. There would be a queue behind the leader. Others behind Jonah Munzarachimuka, others behind NSD Wamtungwazi, and different people. And when they would arrive there, what was their source of pride? Their source of pride was the number of souls that they were bringing for baptism at camp meeting, who had a longer queue. This was their source of pride. They had no bicycles to pride in. They had no cars, nothing. They had no tents. Who has a better tent between so and so and so and so, or who has a better caravan between so and so? That was outside their dreams. What was prime was soul winning. How many people have you brought for baptism at camp meeting? And I usually pray that, Lord, if that flame of living fire, which shone so bright in saints of old, could be resuscitated today, we will finish the work. And actually, it shall be resuscitated at the end of time when God is finishing the work. That very spirit which was in people like Mberi, in people like Chimuka, etc., that spirit which is doing God's work for the glory of God, that spirit I believe at the end of time, this is the spirit which will finish the work. And what would they do? They would give. They would surrender their resources, giving to them. At camp meetings, they say these were people who were not so well resourced. They were humble people with humble belongings. But at camp meeting, they would not go to camp meeting without anything. They would give their oxen, give their cattle, give their chickens to God. And they say at camp meeting, at times there would be the first queue for giving. People would go, give a cow, then they queue again, go back to the queue again, and give again. At times they would do as much as thrice, giving 3 times. Kutano, let me go and do encore. Let me go again. Let me do another encore in giving. It's written in the archives. This is how they used to give. And if there will be a similar act of sacrifice in the modern church, we will finish the work. They worked hard, but let me stop here and give 8 to 10 minutes for comments and questions. If anybody has a question, let me open up for. I know when you flood people with a lot of detail, you end up boring them. You will remain the only one who is excited, and they are right. I think I saw a hand at the back. Okay. Yeah, okay. Is it working? I think. Yeah, I think he's fixing it.
I want to ask you a question. You talked of mighty men of God going out for soul winning. And I know that the spirit behind was the Spirit of Christ. And we still have that Spirit of Christ in us. Now, what is lacking in today's methods of soul winning that we can have an impact in the world? Seeing that we are a lot of people having the word of God, but lacking in soul winning. What is it that which we can do as soul winners?
Thank you. I may not answer that question satisfactorily, but what was there in our forefathers which may be lacking today? It was mainly commitment. Where people were committed themselves, that we will do it, that has to be done, it shall be done by us. We have to do it. And we will not send other people to do it for us. It's our responsibility to win souls. This is what they would do themselves. Student would go among the people, get there, listen to them, and work among them. He first came 1902, came to Solusi, he learned Ndebele. 1910, he got to Nyazura, he learned Manika, he could speak Shona, student. And he was among the people. He never used to send the other people that go and evangelize, come and tell me what you saw. No, he would go himself. And I believe this is one thing that we need as a church. Us, we cannot send our resources, we can't send our money and everything. We have to go ourselves and do the work. That's one of the, and also another challenge which always goes with societies. When societies, there is what is known as redemption and lift. When societies become materially resourced, usually they want to come to congregate. There is what is known as fellowship inflammation, where people focus on reaching out to each other. They are so much concerned about each other to the extent that they forget mission. And you may have very, very good initiatives where you have nice programs which are mainly meant to reach out to people as they sit down, but instead of them going out to evangelize. That is the challenge in the Western world, which is also becoming our challenge in Africa as well. That's part of what I could say. So it has to be done, and we have to say to ourselves, it has to be done by us. I'll give you an example of one denomination, of two actually, which are still aggressive, which began at the same time with us, Jehovah's Witnesses. With Jehovah's Witnesses, it's part of, it's a test of faith to evangelize. With us, you cannot be censured for not evangelizing. We can challenge you. Actually, even if you don't evangelize, it's not a test even when you are choosing workers for the church. We use stewardship. Does he return tithe? No, he doesn't. Yes, it's a very good test. But we don't check, does he evangelize? No, that one is, we don't ask that question. Does he or she evangelize? So what is it telling us? It's telling us that stewardship is more important than evangelism, ultimately. With Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a test of fellowship. With Mormons as well, witnessing, for you to maintain a membership, you have to witness. If you stop witnessing, even if you're coming to church, you cease membership because you are not involved in mission. Right? I think there was another hand at the back. Then, who is moving the mic? I think I'm left with about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon, church. Yeah, good afternoon, church. Yes, yes. Yeah, I'm concurring with the pastor. We ourselves who have the true message to the people out there, but our challenge is we keep that to ourselves. Even if you go for Bible study, if they know that you are a Seventh-day Adventist, some of them they run away. You know that we ourselves, we know the Bible far much better than themselves. That's the challenge which you are having at the moment. We are not going out there to spread the word, to give them the true information. But the Jehovah's Witness, yes, they are doing a good work, but the problem is they mix the truth and false. So true and false is equal to what? False. One question which I wanted to ask is that when the movement started, you didn't mention about other missionaries, like who was here in Rhodesia? David Livingstone. Where was David Livingstone when all these missionaries, our missionaries, were doing God's work. Did they ever meet somewhere? Because I understand David Livingstone also died here, and the son or daughter died also. Can you please explain on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. David Livingstone came earlier. He came after Robert Moffat. And when our missionaries came here, David Livingstone was already dead. But did they find motivation from him? Yes, they did. His commitment to mission, we might have disagreed theologically, but his commitment to mission, yes, we found a lot of inspiration from him. But these went ahead of Seventh-day Adventist missionaries. And we also benefited from their contribution. In what way? They translated the Bible into local languages. So when we got the Bible in Shona, in Ndebele, in Swana, etc., we were harvesting what they had done ahead of us. Thank you. I think it's the last ends. Oh no, there's one too. Okay.
No, for me, the history of the SDA Church in Zimbabwe is interesting. Has anyone written a book on that history up to now or whatever? Because it would be interesting for us to look at it and study it.
Thank you. Good question. There have been very good initiatives to document that. There is the first, which was done by the missionaries. The missionaries did better than us. Virgil Robinson wrote the Solusi story, and he also wrote Third Angel over Africa, and he wrote about 4 books. Virgil Robinson was a grandson of Robinson, whom I mentioned, who arrived in South Africa in 1887. So this, then with us as Africans, we have one document which is published, the history of the church, especially in Manicaland, that has been captured, not in its entirety, but I think a very, very good work has been done. Then also we have at another project, Trailblazers of Adventism, which has also tried to capture what can be. Then we also have the Seventh-day Adventist Encyclopedia, where people deposit some articles in that encyclopedia. So a little bit has been done, and we are continuing to motivate all of us, because with history, you can never catch the entire story. What can you do? Ask your parents now, those whose parents are still alive. Ask your brothers now, when they're still alive. Record that, write it down. That's simple. And there is an Adventist encyclopedia. You can deposit that information in that website. They are so much keen to harvest information, that information. So this is what is being done. Thank you. Last hand, there was another hand at the back, then the last one here. At the back, or you have, okay, then the last one here.
Oh, thank you, Pastor, for telling us the history. But from your history also, you may have noted that not all Adventists left the States to come and evangelize. Others remained there and supported the missions. And the issue I'm looking at is, as a church, we seem to have moved from strategy to strategy in evangelism. One year you hear small groups ministries, the other year you hear let's do Macedonia, the other year is let's do that and that. So all these different strategies. How do we get informed on the strategies? Because you have said those who went to Solusi, even with the difficulties that they had, they committed themselves to pushing forward with the word and evangelizing in the area. The other question is, if you have difficulties in one strategy, who tells you to move to the other strategies? Is it Holy Spirit inspired? Does it mean the first strategy was not Holy Spirit inspired? Those are some of the challenges that we have. And also, the other fact is not everybody is geared to be on a program of evangelism, because your life story should be evangelism proper. So others can do it at their workplaces, others can do it in different places. So, what is the best way to evangelize? Is it the church program? Is it individual life experiences? Sometimes we get confused. But someone says if you don't go by the street side and distribute, then you are not interested in evangelism. Is evangelism basically about church programs?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Uh, I'm. It's a loaded question. I think it has a lot of package that I'm careful as well not to engage, because I think part of it might be within local politics. Let me allow it to prevail without me enmeshing myself inside it. But at the same time, what I can say is uh, all these programs or all these suggestions are mainly stressing the primacy of evangelism, that the church has to evangelize. I think it may be overflatting the church for sure, that's very possible. And I have also at times felt it as a pastor, that I am being overly inundated with a lot of uh, initiatives that you can end up. But the whole objective is to motivate people to evangelize. And maybe it may be coming from desperation. When you are desperate, you end up trying 15 methods at once. Like if there is fire in the house and you're trying to get out of the house, some will say break the door, others say let's try to break the wall, others say maybe let's go through the roof where it's burning, we can just jump once and get out. All these initiatives are saying, what can we do to address a critical situation? So, is it best to have one? It may possibly be the best for us to come down and, but that's what I might suggest. That I think all these methods, not all of them might work in every context, but what they are stressing is we need to evangelize. And which is the best method of evangelizing? To me, I would say the best method is a method that will bring people to the pool. This is the test of evangelism. If you say, I'm evangelizing through my life, very good. But we want to see the people who got converted through admiring you, and I need to baptize them here in the pool. So to me, this is the test of a method. It's that simple. And uh, should we, there is different ways of evangelism. There is what is known as presence evangelism. where you live in a society and people see a good man in you, the way you treat your wife, the way you treat your children, and people say, ah, that's a very good man. But usually, people don't get converted into your faith because they admire you. Usually, what converts them is for you, with your presence evangelism, to add deliberate witness where you invite them. People cannot come to your house to eat because they were tantalized by the aroma of the food. Because so even if the food is smelling nice, but it doesn't mean that I said come and eat it. So you, after presence, you have to be intentional, invite them, that please come. You can hear the smell, it's yours. Come, let's eat it together. So how it can be done, should you go to the street, there can be different perspectives, but ultimately people have to be baptized. That's my answer. But did I successfully evade answering the other part? I did. Okay, thank you very much.